Hi, I'm Tom Stephenson and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at change orders in Microsoft Project. I'm a professor of construction management and I'm just finishing off a semester and I'm seeing where a lot of problems are where you add change orders to schedules. And as I said, I'm a professor of construction management who works a lot with industry professionals. I do a lot of consulting and I see problems in the real world and I see problems that my students have, and I try to come up with solutions that make it easier for you to be able to adjust. Really, with scheduling programs like Microsoft Project, Primavera, you should be able to make adjustments, and adjustments are things like change orders as one example. In other videos, I talk about updating and recoveries where you're making adjustments because nothing ever goes exactly as planned. So you want to be able to iterate and adjust. That's the whole purpose of really being able to manage project schedules really well. So I have a bunch of files that you can download. I have links in the description below, Google Drive links that you can just download and follow along if you like. You don't have to, or you can just try to get the juice of what you're after by watching the videos. If you are fairly new to Microsoft Project, I have a listing of links for you to follow along too, so that you can start right from the beginning or at whatever point you think makes sense for you, because they're kind of progressive. This is video number 26. The first, for sure, 15 or so videos are pretty progressive from one to the other. And then I start getting into more specialized topics. Okay, so let's get started. So we're going to look at a change order. Now in this particular file here that we've been using in this course, I've got this office remodel that we're doing, or classroom remodel. And I've got a work breakdown structure, pre-construction, site mobilization, construction, and closeout. And we've already done an update. You can see some things are already marked as complete. So you can see that some things are already marked as complete. And this is a status date line where they were marked up to as being complete. Now what I want to do is I want to do a contemplated change order in this example. So that means you're thinking about this and you want to see what impact it's going to have on your project. And one of the things that I think you should look at before you even start is just where are we on this project right now? So I'm just going to click on this square icon box. This is how I like to flip screens. I just click on that. It selects everything, by the way, when you click on it. You right click. And I'm going to go down to the variance screen. Now, because we've set a baseline, and I know we've set a baseline because, and there's the middle bar, I'm just adjusting here if you're new to this. And you see that baseline there is. If it's not set, you just see not applicable. Well, if I want to see what happens when I change something, I have to have a baseline. So if I haven't set a baseline and you change something, you want to see the difference between what was and now what is, or what you're changing in the plan, you have to have a baseline. This is one of the mistakes I've seen with groups of students this semester. And every time I see certain things, then I kind of ask myself, was I not forceful enough in sort of saying this is what you have to do to see that variance? And, you know, I sometimes get it with professionals too that haven't really been taught how to use the software. And so there's a lot of nuances with this software that you have to know if you want to catch it. So you can see I do have variances, but whatever variances I had, it was brought back to zero. All right, so this project is now, and I can tell by the overall project summary task, it's got zero variation. So I know right now there's no variation in our project. Now I'm going to insert the change order to this project, and right now I'm in the variance screen. You know, you can do it while you're in the variance screen. You'll notice too that in my variance screen I have the duration column. I usually insert that column into the variation screen. I usually insert it into the tracking screen so I can make quick adjustments while I'm in the screen. I just find it a lot easier to do that way, and I describe that in other videos. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to my entry view because I'm kind of entering stuff. So I'll stay in that entry view for now. And then after we do stuff, we're gonna jump around and we're gonna look at the tracking view, go back to the variance. We want to see what impact. Right now, we just know we're not behind schedule on this project. So I am going to enter a series of tasks. And so my setup here that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You might not know how many you're going to enter ahead of time, right? So you can just like in Excel, enter a few tasks. I happen to know that I'm going to enter 8, but you could enter, like if you think you're going to enter 8 or 10, you could just insert 10 rows. You can always delete them out later. All right, so I'm just going to go insert task, and I'm inserting this above where install T-bar ceiling is. So I'm going to go insert task, right? And so it inserts a bunch of empty rows for me, and it's got a bunch of 1-day question marks. So now I'm going to start to enter this. So I'm going to say CCO, contemplated change order. This is not something that's a for sure. I'll say whatever number it might be. I renamed the file, and I talk about file naming protocols, so I have everything in a nice organization, but I'm not going to do that in this particular video because it takes a lot of time to explain it. I've done it in previous videos. So I'm going to put number 5 here, and I'm going to put conference, and I don't have to put the whole thing, but I'll put conference room bulkhead. All right, so the client is thinking about inserting a bulkhead around a office that we are renovating. And this project is for a bunch of classrooms, but there's also a conference room for the faculty, let's say. And so here I am going to insert the activities that I think are required for this bulkhead. And so it's really what I'm doing is I'm inserting a mini project into my overall project. And in technical terms, it's called a fragmented network. And so basically it's this series of activities, network of activities, because you want to have everything interconnected, and that's key, into our schedule. So if it was your project, you would know what the names of the activities are. And it doesn't matter what kind of project it is. I'm talking construction, but it really doesn't matter what kind of project it is. Okay, so relocate rough in of diffusers. I'm going to put in relocate sprinklers, because these are things that this is requiring us to do that may be already installed. Install new pot lights. So there's going to be some pot lights in this bulkhead. And I'm going to put inspections. And I'm going to put install drywall in bulkhead. And then I'm going to put tape drywall. Tape drywall. So let's see, we got install bulkhead, relocate rough-in of diffusers, sprinklers, install new pot lights. We've got inspections, install drywall, tape drywall. Okay, so I think I've got one extra task here. So I'm just going to delete that extra task. Remember I said you can throw them in. I'm just going to press delete, and that brings that out. Now, what I want you to know is that when you insert something new into Microsoft Project, it is going to, unless you do something about it, it is going to put them all at the start date of the project. So whatever the start date is of your project, anything new it puts way back here. So that's very important to know, because if you add something, don't think that it's just going to jump in where you want it. You could go into the options and do things like that, but then it may be putting it not exactly where you want it anyway, so that's not good either. So I am going to, right now, I'm going to link these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 activities together, okay? And I am going to indent them, all right? So we talked about how to create a work breakdown structure. So I'm going to go to the Task tab, and I'm going to click the indent icon, and now they are all indented. And now I'm going to do what I do with projects. I'm going to figure out how long I think this is going to take each one of these activities here, right? And so I'm putting in durations for them, and those durations should be representative of the time that you believe that it's going to take. And you base that on historical data, you base that on experience, you factor it for the unique physical requirements of the project, etc. And so I've done that, but they're all starting at the same time, so that's no good, right? So I'm going to link them all together. And so I just highlight them. Do not highlight the summary tasks. You just highlight these and the activities that you want to be below the summary tasks. So you're creating this fragment. Now this is your fragmented network here. So this is important too. This should be lined up. So this should be lined up that it's under the construction tab. I don't want it like even with the construction tab. I want it lined up with the construction tab. So that's important from that perspective. I want to make sure that that's lined up there. Because if I have this lined up, because this is another problem I was running into, if I have this lined up with, say, the overall project. So the overall project right now shows 143 days duration. That's from start to finish, okay? So that's from start to finish. Well, that's also a problem unto itself because right now this is not linked to anything. So that's probably not a true statement in our case. But at any rate, I want to make sure it's in the right level. So I can see 1, 2, this is in the 3rd level. And then this is, if I go down here and I widen this a little bit, in the 4th level, these activities, which makes sense. That's in the right spot. I started out here and I indented it. That's in the right spot. But I do find that often people will, get it at the wrong level. And so it may change. See how that's now at 89 days? Well, why? Well, because it's at the same level as this, right? So it's at the same level as my classroom. I don't want it at the same level as my classroom. That's the overall project. I don't want it at that. So the overall classroom is only counting stuff up to here, and then everything else is under here. So that's not right. That's not what I want. Now, if I just quickly wanted to undo this, I could just click Control Z, or I could start indenting. Now, if I indent this back, I'm still going to have some adjustments that I'm going to have to make because some stuff has moved as a consequence of me doing this. So to simplify it, I am just going to hit Control Z for now. And I'll just go Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and this should get it back to where I want it to be. Right now, it's still under construction, and there it one more time, Control Z. All right, so now see how that is there. This is lined up here. These are inside of this. If I roll this up, then this is all at that level under construction, which is what I want. All right, and I can see this is at level 3. That is good. So I can see I'm good there. By the way, quickly, if you want to look at the levels, because I find people don't realize this, you can go to View, Outline, click on level 1, and that'll show me the overall classroom. Then you can go to Outline, level 2. Okay, pre-construction, site mobilization, construction closeout, good. All right, then I can go to level 3. And then that's going to show me with my conference room. And by the way, I could come up with a coloring that I could utilize for my change orders. So I could pick a color that I haven't used yet. I'm probably not the best at this because I'm colorblind, but you pick up a unique color that you haven't already used. And then every time you have like a change order, you color it a certain way and you can see it pretty quickly that way. And so you realize, okay, those are change orders. Okay, so we've got that. Now I've got this closed up at the moment, and I want to talk about this just a little bit. So it's not linked to anything. Now, what I like to do, and I didn't talk about this yet, these are overall locations. I talk about those in another video. I just was using this one as a start point file. I'm going to insert here a hyperlink. So I'm going to go to where it says link. So I just clicked here in the indicator column. So I am currently in the entry view. If you're in the entry view, the indicator column should be there. If it's not, it's a really handy column. And so it's a really handy column to utilize that you can insert things like hyperlinks, notes. It'll show you if something is done. It'll show you if you've over allocated something. It's very, very handy. So to do that, you just right click, insert column, type I for indicator, and it will insert it. You'll even insert it twice, even though we don't need it. I can delete that from view, as we always can. It doesn't delete it from the program like Excel would. All right, I'm going to right click, go to link, and I am going to open. This should take me to the folder I'm currently in with my saving of files, and I'm going to go to Microsoft Project Update and Recovery Checklist. I'm going to click OK, and now you see a hyperlink here. So I'm going to click on this hyperlink, if I can get there. There we go. Jump out. See the little fingers? So sometimes you got to jump out, and then if you jump out and you go back finger, it opens up my list that I have for my checklists. So I have this in the description. You can download this. There's no things that you have to do. So go in the description and you can just download this. I put together these checklists. I've got other videos on checklists that I walk through each one of these. So again, you can look at my Microsoft Project, the course playlist, and you can check the videos on checklists. And so this is for updating. This is for the baseline, setting the baseline. This is for updating your project, things you should go over when you update it. This is for recovering. And today we're looking at our change order checklist. So today we're looking at the change order checklist. So I've inserted the rows above the successor, good. I've typed the heading, good. I've created a summary task, good. I've ensured that it's at the correct level of the work breakdown structure, good. I checked the current variance was 0 before we started, good. So now I'm at this. I'm going to make sure I link the first activity to predecessor and add a lag as required. And then I'm going to connect the last activity to the successor. I'm going to check the variance. And then I'm going to look at, I'll talk about how much float it has. And I'm going to have impacts to any other activities that I should think about if I'm looking at this contemplated change. Because if you're going to be costing this out as a change order, you want to make sure you've included all the costs. There's a per diem cost of running your project every day. There's opportunity costs that you're on this project and you're not on other projects. So there's a lot of stuff to consider here from a project management point of view and utilizing the software point of view. I'm not just a sort of click here kind of teacher online with Microsoft Project. I want you to understand why you're doing certain things. That's important to me. So I'm going to now go back. And we're here. We're back at our screen. And now what I'm going to do, I just did Alt-Tab. You can always switch between screens really quickly with Alt-Tab. All right. And so now I can see that we're at the start point. And I got to say to myself, where do I want this to connect to? And so this is why the entry screen is pretty good, because I can go to where it says predecessor. And I recognize that I've got an open end here. It's not connected to anything. That's why it's at the start date. So maybe to start with, I want to connect it to activity number 19, tape drywall, which is like way ahead. It's way over here, right? So it's a few months ahead. So I want to connect that there. So that's number 19. So I'm going to put that at number 19. And so now that's connected, right? So that's connected way up, so I'll go in the wrong one here, way over on our other screen. So if I go over here, and I can use the scroll to task if I don't want to, move there. So I'll just scroll to task. I can see it's sitting there now. But what's wrong with this? It's not connected to anything, so it's not pushing anything on my project. If I go to my variance screen right now, and I go to check the variance, I can see that there's no variance still. So my project is still got no variance overall. So this change order, like if I don't do the next step, I'll click square icon, go back to entry view. And if I don't do this next step that I'm about to show you, you really don't know how much this change order is affecting things because it's not connected to what should be a successor for it. And it doesn't always have to be the next activity, but you got to make sure that you've connected it. That's the point. You got to make sure you connect it. In our case, a bulkhead in construction, I would want to have the bulkhead in, and then I want to put the T-bar ceiling, because you put this corner track around, and then you can run your T-bars, your main T's, and your cross T's, and you can attach to the edge mold. And so you'd want to have that in first. So it makes sense then that I should put over here the tape drywall, right? Maybe I'll just squeeze this a little bit so you can see more. Probably double things up, but that's okay. All right, I'm going to look at this here. So I've got basically my tape drywall has number 25 as, my installed T-bar ceiling has number 19 way up here. And okay, so that's fair enough. I think I'm going to keep that one there because it makes sense for me on this project. And I'm going to put comma, number 25. And when I do this, you should see this jump. You should see this jump out over here because it's going to move this critical path. Right now, this doesn't show it's on the critical path. Remember, the critical path is the longest path through the project. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to click on here to number 25. And so then it pushed that one out. So we've got tape drywall as a predecessor. And I've noticed I put it in the wrong one here. I got 25. No, I've got the right one. 25. And so we got here 25. Let's just double click on this because I think maybe it did a start to start or predecessors. And so we've got tape drywall minus 3 days. And we've got inspection, install drywall in bulkhead. So I'm going to just put, we've got that there. Okay. And install T-bar. And just going to just undo this for a second. Oopsie. Just get that there. Okay, we got that there. Oh, because this is a start-to-start relationship, that's why it's showing over here. I am going to, with install T-bar ceiling, and it was minus 3 days, and this is 3 days, so okay. So I'm going to, instead, I'm going to put this at 25, and I'm going to just put the comma 25 like I had. And I'm going to connect this, the successor of this, up to over here. So I just want to make sure I've got everything properly connected here. So I want to have that tied off there just because the other one was a start to start relationship or finish to start with a minus 3 days. I'm going to click here, comma, and I'm going to put 27 and 26. Ah, that's why. That's my mistake. I'm counting wrong. Okay. Click OK. See how you can have these problems? I like having problems when I'm actually shooting a video live because then I can explain what I'm doing and thinking about and that sort of thing. I put 25. I was wondering why is this? I thought it was because it was a start to start, but it's not. It's me typing the wrong number there. 26. Now watch it. That's better. I was curious. So you got to ask yourself when you see something like that going on, what's going on? You got to slow it down. Make sure, because I wasn't going to leave that activity without something connected to the end. I'm really adamant that you don't want to have open ends. You want to make sure that everything's connected so that if something takes longer later on, it's going to show that it took longer, right? All right, so now I've got that in. Okay, this is the good part. We've got this done. I'm going to go now to my variance screen and I am going to check what is my variance. All right, so we've got a start variance and a finish variance. Oh, 18 days. Wow. Okay, so we've got an 18-day variance on this. Okay, so we've got an 18-day variance on this. So we went from 0 to 18 days. All right, so we went from 0 variance to 18 days, right? And that is causing us that change. So we want to be always looking at like what is the actual activity, and before, what is our variance, and now that we add it in, what is our variance after we add it in, right? And why is that variance indicated that way? Let me just pull this all the way over here. I'm going to go to the tracking Gantt so we can see things a little bit better. So you slide to the left. That's the way I like to switch screens. You slide to the left. You go to your tracking Gantt, which is here. You scroll to task, all right? And you see here, there basically that was the old variance, all right? And if we scroll down, we see that before we started, we didn't have any variance. Our change order is not going to have a baseline because we added it new, and we have not added a baseline to it yet. And so then what you can see that's happening is that the change order is pushing out install T-bar ceiling. So the change order is pushing out install T-bar ceiling. And what we did was we've got this here. This is 15 days. Now, if we look at the variance, it's at 18 days, right? So the variance is at 18 days. And you might be asking, well, why is the variance at 18 days? Well, it is partly to do because of, if we go to the entry view, there was a -3 days on install T-bar ceiling and the tape drywall. So this was actually coming in at, before we put this, number 26, at -3 days. So our change order is 15 days. This was starting 3 days back. And so this change order, even though it's only 15 days, we're pushing this out. That extra 3 days is what's that saying. So we've got 15 days plus the other 3 days that was with this change order. And that's why that's at 18. Sometimes a lot of times it's the other way around. A lot of times it is going to be that this is 15 days and the delay is like 10 days. Well, what does that mean? That means you had float. How much float did you consume before it became critical? Sometimes you could insert a change and it doesn't delay the project at all because it's in an area of float. So this is what you're trying to figure out. How much is it delaying the project? Is it delaying the project? And that's very important for you to understand what's happening there. And that's why in the checklist, I put in that you want to look at it. What's the variance? Has it consumed float? And what really is happening with this change order? And what's really happening with this change order is it has changed your finish date by 18 working days. So it's changed your finish date by 18 working days. And so that's important to understand. If you understand that, then basically you can cost it out, or you can look at it, what could you do differently, which is maybe for another video. But I'm hoping that that helped you. I'm hoping that you're seeing the use of the checklist to make sure what's going on. I would even, with the checklist, look at beyond this area here and what else is being impacted, right? So I would even be looking at beyond this and what else is being impacted. Now, again, you notice that there's no baseline here on these activities. There is for everything that was in the baseline, and that's why this is pushed out 18 days, right? So from this one to the other one, it's 18 working days, right? 18 working days that are being absorbed. 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's the difference between the baseline and this. Some of you may say, but how do I track the change order? How do I actually track the change order? Okay, if you want to track the change order, then you have to put a baseline in this part of it. So if you want to do that, you just basically highlight these few activities. You go to your view tab or your project tab, and you go where it says set baseline. And this is very important. You set baseline only for the selected task, not for the entire project. Make sure you're listening here, only for the selected task. And click OK. It'll give you a warning, right? but you click yes, but it's only doing it for the selected task. Now, if you change something here after you do that, it will show a variance, right? You'll see a variance that would be in here. You'd know something changed in here by 2 days, right? Start and finish variances, right? So you'll see that in there, and then how it's affecting the whole project. Because change orders can be big, and you want to monitor those too, because they may not go the way that you planned. You could have another change in the middle of a change order. That can happen. So I hope this has given you some insight into change orders. I hope it's given you some insight into the value of checklists and how you can have it pretty much readily available in your actual programs, that you can actually click on it and utilize it for those reasons, right? And so I would be going back here and I would be going down to my checklist, and I just make sure I do that. And then we did link the first activity. These are the ones that typically get forgotten, I'm telling you right now. And so you're kind of wasting your time then if you forget those ones. Checking the variances, seeing how much, is it impacted other activities. And the big part with Microsoft Project is try it. I get a lot of comments, and give me questions. I'm happy to look at questions. But a lot of questions I might respond to you by saying, oh, that's interesting, try it, right? Because just rename the file, try it, see what it does. So I'm Tom Stephenson. If you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate comments, and I would really appreciate if you could subscribe. It helps me grow the channel, and that way I can do more and more and more stuff. And I really value you as a viewer and your comments. So I'm wishing you all the best, and have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.